I'm really in this kind of stage of my life. I'm really more about just putting your thing in the world and not getting too tied up with having it be quote unquote official. It exists. It doesn't matter if it has, Penguin House or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a thing and people are going to enjoy it, period. Hi, I'm Ann Sloan, and you're entering A World Gone Good.
Well, hello, my name is Steve, and here we go, spreading our good around like we just don't care on this here podcast, World Gone Good. You can find all the good we offer in one convenient location, worldgonegoodpodcast.com. That is the place where all our episodes live, along with some other fun stuff, including our top 5 most listened to episodes of all time, and also a link to our Patreon page. Get your good fix, a fix goodly, you like that? Came up with that myself, at worldgonegoodpodcast.com. Today is a good day. Why is today a good day other than here we are together again talking about it being a good day and good things? Because today I officially became a published author. That is right, Drowned Town came out today. It's a cozy mystery with a nice big heaping of humor, because that's how I roll. And if you doubt how I roll, the narrator is a dead dog named after my favorite dog, who is no longer with us, Hubie. I have been a working writer for 30 years now. I can't believe it either. And writing this story was one of the most challenging and funnest, it's a word, experiences I've ever had. I got to plat out a murder, y'all. Maybe even 2. You got to go see for yourself. Go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and find out. Order yourself a book. The real magic in writing a book is you can say and do anything. Your only limitation is your own imagination. The only person stopping you from writing is you. And that to me is such a strong metaphor for life, right? The only thing that's stopping you in so many things is you. So to celebrate Drowned Town being published, I have another good author coming to us today. My friend Ann Sloan. She is here with us to talk about all things creative. I previously asked Ann to read my novel before it got published, and I asked her if she did, would she please give me a quote, which she graciously did both those things. You can look for her quote on the back cover. We writer types stick together, people. This is Ann Sloan, also known as AC Sloan. And this here is her good story. My favorite shows I get to do are with people that I know, which is a big slam to everyone who I don't know. Sorry, people.
You got to meet those people. You got to meet the rest of the people.
But you, Ann Sloan, is my friend, and I know her, and everyone, she wants us to suffer, exclamation point. Explain. No, I'm kidding. Let's start here. You're a self-published writer, author. Let's talk about this. Your novel says on the very front cover, AC Sloan. Who the fuck is AC Sloan? No, I'm kidding. Who's AC Sloan?
AC Sloan had to be AC Sloan because my name is Ann. I go by Annie often. So I wanted to be Annie Sloan or Ann Sloan. There is a Martha Stewart wannabe named Annie Sloan, and this woman is quite successful. She has a chalk paint dynasty. She has brick and mortar stores everywhere. So there was absolutely no way I was going to be able to cut through any kind of din on social media. If anyone Googled Annie Sloan or Ann Sloan, her paint would come up. So I had to use my middle initial, as much as it bothered me.
I see, and I'm in a similar boat because there are so many Steve Silverman and Steven Silvermans that I put the J in. But my dad, may he rest in peace, my dad's name was Jay, Jay. So I like calling myself Stephen J. Silverman on the cover of my book, even though everyone who knows me knows I'm Steve. A few people I'm Stevie. A couple other people I'm four-letter words.
Right.
The book is called Suffer! Exclamation point. We're going to get to it right away. We're going to go all around. We'd love to have a conversation here. The title, how painful or not painful was it for you to come up with the title?
You'll appreciate this coming from the world of TV. It is set in the world of TV, and it came to me, the idea for this book came to me while we were in a brainstorming meeting for a Shonda Rhimes show called Scandal, which you may have heard of. So I used to be on the marketing team for Scandal, and we were coming up, we had to do what would you call it? A season finale event. And we're brainstorming things we could do. So someone in the room pitched, hey, what would happen if we get some super fans together of Scandal? They used to call themselves the Gladiators. And we do a contest, and somebody wins one group wins the contest, and they win the chance for Kerry Washington to go to their house and watch the finale with them. So that idea was discussed in the meeting, and it was thrown out because they were like, well, how could we properly vet these people? You know, what if they're strange? What if they're dangerous? And instantly my brain checks out of the meeting, and I'm like, what indeed would happen with that? What would a story with that as the premise, what would that story be? So I'm no longer paying attention to the meeting or coming up with ideas. I'm percolating a story. And in the spirit of Scandal, I came up with Suffer because the backstory of this book is a lot about bullying and power structures that happen in Hollywood and outside of Hollywood. And that's kind of how Suffer, it's supposed to be obviously cheeky, but the exclamation point, Suffer, came to be. So it's not based on Shonda Rhimes or Katherine Heigl, but it's, they were kind of the inspiration behind the characters.
Isn't that always amazing when you are having a conversation or you're in some other zone and the spark comes to you? When it came to you as a spark, was it a first line? Was it a character? Was it an overall story? Or was it a rush of everything?
It was the situation, like, oh my God, what would it look like if an actress wound up with a group of fans and there's something off? But I didn't want it to be Misery, the Stephen King novel, right. Which is an unhealthy, unstable fan who kidnaps, spoiler alert, kidnaps the writer. I didn't want it to be that. So I'm like, well, what would this sort of kidnapping be that's fun and accidental? And I didn't want it to be a dark story. It's a very, it's a satirical, funny story, and their hearts are in the right place, but things go very wrong with this actress when they meet her, my super fans. So yeah, it was kind of just the situation, I suppose, was the jumping off point. And then I figured out the characters and who they are.
How long of a process was this for you to write?
Suffer started as a screenplay.
Oh.
And yeah. And screenplays are rough because there is such a high bar of gatekeeping to get your screenplay read, let alone get it made into a movie. So a screenplay isn't exactly a thing. This is how I view it. It's not a thing in and of itself. It's more like a blueprint for another entertainment form, namely a film or a TV show, right?
Right.
And it's just hard. It's hard to get your stuff read. And so the script, I won some contests with it, blah, 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 but it was kind of sitting there. And when I made the decision to venture into novel writing, I didn't want to start totally from scratch because it was too intimidating. So I was like, well, I always like that screenplay, I said Scandal, the screenplay Suffer. Why don't I try to adapt that for a book? And that's kind of how it came about. So it was for me, entering into this totally new realm of novel writing. That took some of the sting out of it because the characters were there. A lot of the dialogue was there. The plot was basically there. And that's how it started. And then next thing I knew, I had a novel.
I've done that. I had a project called Was back in 2018, and it was a series. It was a television series, and believe it or not, I had Joan Van Ark, Michelle Lee, and Donna Mills from Knots Landing all sign on.
Wow.
Unofficially, but sign on to be the three leads in this thing called Was. And I went around and I pitched it. And then we went to different, and then from a series, it became a movie, and we were pitching that for a while. And then it sort of petered out, after about a year and a half of pitching, and going around. And then I was like, oh, this would make a great novel. So I started writing it as a novel. Well, the funny thing is, I love the character that I created, Rebecca Shaw, so much. I love her so much. It's the character Joan Van Ark would play, that in the second story I have coming, the second novel of my own cozy mystery that I have that just came out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the next
Which
one,
is brilliant.
Oh, you're very sweet. Drowntown, everyone. The next one that's coming, Rebecca Shaw is now a main character in it, because I learned something a long time ago, and I think I've talked about this on before. I think I saw James Burrows. Let me Jimmy, like I'm his friend.
No, yeah, Jimmy, JB,
good old Jim. James Burrows was talking to somebody, and he did Taxi and he did Cheers, and they asked him what made Taxi and Cheers so successful, and he said, anyone can hail a taxi. Anyone can go into a bar. And he said, create an open environment. So that's what I did, is I created this open environment of a 55 plus community, and anyone can move in and out. I could just introduce new neighbors. Do you think about that when you're writing a novel like this? Was this a one-off novel, or were you planning that the season 2 of the series keeps going and we see more of it in the book?
No, it was totally a one-off. However, I envy the genre you're writing in for that exact reason, because there's so much work that goes into writing a novel. And in my case, it's a one-off. There's nowhere really for it to go. And I kind of wish I had thought more about that when I started. Should I work in like fantasy or cozy mystery where you can have recurring characters and a longer arc? The only thing I can see with Suffer is there's a show within the show, or within the book. It's about a TV show, and the TV show is called Suffer, and the fans are called Suffragettes. The only thing I can think of is a possible spin-off, which is about the show Suffer. So it wouldn't be about the fans of the show. It would be in the world of the show Suffer. And the TV show is about a vigilante. She's kind of like, she's a vigilante, bullying advocate, anti-advocate. What would you call that? She's I'm sorry, Steve. I'm having a brain fart.
No, you said it perfectly. But she goes a step further, right?
She advocates for people for underdogs. She's a lawyer, and she's a kind of like an Amal Clooney sort of person. She advocates for underdogs and the bullied and so forth and so on. However, when this character, her name is Marcia Suffer, when she fails in her endeavor and the bad guys go free, she turns Dexter, and she becomes a murderous vigilante, and she's whacking people. That's the story within the story. The book is not about that. It's about the fans of the show. But I could do a second season, I suppose, or second book that's about this character of Marcia Suffer, which would be more like Dexter.
Yeah, but you have scenes in the book. Now, my question was, did you pull scenes from the screenplay and just put them right in the book?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they're adapted a little bit. The plot of the book very much follows the plot of the screenplay. However, I don't know how many words are in a screenplay, like 30,000. There's a big jump between a 30,000 word screenplay and an 80,000 word book. So I had to like really expand it. And I have, the characters are more, there's backstory, there's flashbacks of the characters that do not appear in the screenplay. So there's a lot more substance in the book than is in the screenplay. But yeah, I did have some of the lifts, because even in the screenplay, it was a play within a play kind of thing. And so, yeah, I did kind of lift a lot from the screenplay.
Did you try to get a publisher? I get this a lot, right? You're self-publishing. I went out to agents for close to a year, several hundred, and probably maybe 175, several hundred. Listen to me, almost 200. I had one almost serious offer, and it went back and forth quite a bit, and then they passed. What was your situation?
I didn't bother. I'm retired. Like, I'm not a kid. You know what I mean? And I felt like I didn't want to spend years trying to get an agent and then after you get the agent, that's just the first step. That's what I was talking about, gatekeeping. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's so many people, and I was talking about gatekeeping with screenwriting, but there is also gatekeeping with novel writing if you go the traditional publishing route. I felt like I just didn't have the time. It wasn't my goal. I wanted to just put a thing in the world and for people to buy and read or ignore, which also has happened. Let's be real. But I wanted to do, I'm really in this kind of stage of my life. I'm really more about just putting your thing in the world and not getting too tied up with having it be quote unquote official. Like traditional publishing is real publishing. No, anything you put out is real publishing. Your book that I saw you do an unboxing of on Instagram is a real tangible thing.
Right.
It exists. It doesn't matter if it has, Penguin House or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a thing and people are going to enjoy it, period.
Yeah, we talk about that on this show a lot, and that's the do of life, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of talk and there's a lot of doing when we're trying to get something done, but there is something about putting something out there just to do it. And to just, that's what this podcast is. That's what so many of the projects. Do you feel to some degree, and you and I have talked privately about this, it's frustrating as fuck because we have to do so many things as self-published people, authors.
Yep.
But did you feel a satisfaction? Have you felt a satisfaction? Have you felt the good in it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it is gratifying to have full control over something. I have to say the dirty little secret about traditional publishing, which they don't tell you, all these traditionally published authors, they're all doing their own marketing anyway on social media. They're all doing it. So they throw you some seed money and you get a little bit of exposure by virtue that you're with Little Brown or Penguin or whomever. You get some, but those companies are also stretched thin. They don't have the promotional machine that they used to have back in the day. So these new authors are all out on Instagram and TikTok and having their face out there saying, hey, my book is out, buy it, but they're doing the work anyway. So my feeling is you're going to have to do your marketing anyway. I find it sometimes exhausting to do the whole thing. I sometimes feel like the marketing and the sales are so much harder than the writing, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, there is a satisfaction knowing like you're doing it all yourself. And as you know, coming from the world of marketing, we kind of know the drill a little bit. So you're using all your skills that you have,
yes,
worked on for the last X amount of decades. And you're putting it now toward your stuff as opposed to putting it toward Shonda Rhimes stuff. No disrespect to Shonda Rhimes or whomever.
Oh, please. If Shonda called, we'd both be like, yes,
exactly.
Ma'am. Yes, Miss Rhimes. Yes, I would love to. I will get your coffee. Not a problem, Miss Rhimes.
But when you work in TV marketing, it is a creative job, but all of your creative energy is in service of someone else's creative vision. In what you're doing and what I'm doing, your marketing efforts are in service to you. And it's hard, but it's also satisfying.
Well, I just had a friend the other day who said to me, oh my God, you have to help me. I've had my book out there forever. And it's a very different genre than cozy mystery that I'm doing. And she's like, how are you doing all this? How are you getting all this stuff to happen? And I'm like, I'm not really doing anything. And which I don't want anybody to know my secret. My secret is I'm not really doing anything. My secret is that I put my book up on Barnes & Noble. And the same day, I was on the front page of Barnes & Noble, coming soon, the 7th book down next to Henry Winkler. And my husband showed it to me. He's like, you're on the home page of Barnes. I'm like, what? Why
awesome.
would I be on that's so crazy. But it was interesting because I spoke to my friend who said, your cover is your, calling card. And she said, and that was her piece of advice. She's like, your cover has to stand out. It has to have something. You have a great cover. I love your cover. Your cover is The color is, we have similar colors. I'm looking at my cover right now. Maybe I stole your cover colors. But I love the color palette. But I also love that there is a either a trans or a man who is, yes. And there's interesting things going on that make me go, ooh, I want to know. And you were smart enough. You learned from your marketing to put your tagline, when a superstar meets your super fans, things get super messy. You put the tagline right on the cover.
You also have to like respect the genre. So I think you're doing a cozy mystery. I think you did a really smart thing. It's very like it's in line with the genre for sure. In my case, it's not really a rom-com because there's no romance in it. It's more like a friend-com, a from-com, or I don't know. You know what I mean? But I realized that the audience for my book was going to be readers of rom-com because it has a rom-com vibe while there's no romance in it. So that's why I did a whole bunch of research on what do rom-com covers look like. And they also always have like illustrated characters. In mine, the representation in my book is really an important thing. There's a couple of mixed race characters. There's a member of the LGBTQ community. There is a member of the autism. There's a character on the autism spectrum. Now, and she is also mixed race. So and then there's an old woman who's in the character. So I wanted to show on my cover, like, this is like a mixed bag of characters.
There is a pretzel on the cover, and you know how I feel about pretzels.
I don't know how you feel about pretzels.
God damn, I love pretzels.
So yeah, there's pretzels and Prosecco, which is one of the kind of the tropes of this fanhood, as they all have. Like Scandal had red wine and popcorn, the Shonda Rhimes shows had the red wine and popcorn. I went with pretzels and Prosecco. But it's all part of that world. So, but I think that's so super exciting about your cover. I think you're 100% right. You did do it. You did get a really compelling cover. You must have done something with your keywords though, when you uploaded it, something very smart.
I did some research, everybody. It's not hard to do research. And I have a couple great people, including you, LL Abbott, Amy Pitta, who gave me great advice. And I just took your advice and ran with it. But I'll tell you, which is something you probably experienced, I went through so many cover designs. We kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth of all our cover designs. And finally, something came to me and I said, wait a minute. This, my murder takes place as a drowning in a pool. And I was like, what if we're in the pool? And my niece is my graphic artist. She's almost 30 years old. She's great. And I do pay her, everyone. I do pay her. Just ask her. So I get the family rate. But I said to my niece, let's talk about this for a second. Because we kept going back and forth with the water. And she had real water in the cover. I said, it's too dark. It's too dark. I said, what if we're in the pool and we're the body looking at the side of the pool, looking up? And my niece, who I love, goes, well, if you've already drowned, you'd be looking directly down. I go, all right, you're drowning. Like, just imagine and she's like, and we were laughing, just give me this. And she was laughing. I said, pretend you're floating up into heaven. And the last thing you see is, so that's kind of an interesting thing. Cause it's stuff again that you don't think about. Just like you, I researched all of these cozy mystery covers. And I started there are so many cutesy covers.
Yes.
And this is not a cutesy book. No. And I'm not cutesy. And I'm like, how can I set myself apart?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
But I also don't know because I think sometimes we just luck out because, I don't know Henry Winkler. I'd like to know Henry Winkler. Me and the Fonz. I feel like we're friends now because we sat next to each other. But it's exciting and your blood starts pumping. You're like, oh my God, something's happening. But I'm just like you. I do this podcast for the fun of it. And I wrote this book for the fun of it. And I did my play for the fun of it.
Yeah, your play was brilliant.
Oh, you're very sweet.
It was so brilliant. It was so brilliant. I talked it up a lot. As did there were a bunch of us there. A bunch of friends went to see it and we were like blown away. And we were all like, you have to go see Steve's play. So I think you did have you had sellouts, right? Towards the end of that run or through the whole run?
We did. We lucked out with the play. We had we averaged about 71, 72 a night in a 100-seat theater. And yes, everybody, we still lost money because that's how little theater works.
But that's okay.
That's how it goes. But it was really cool to see. It's like that's the thing. Is like, do you ever wonder do you picture people reading your book? How does it feel when you read a review that's positive, and how does it feel when you read a review that's negative?
I think the first time I got a 5-star review from someone who I didn't know, I think I cried. Which is so cheesy. It's so cheese. The thing with bad reviews, and obviously you want an abundance, you want more positives than you want negatives. But I will say about negative reviews, 1 and 2-star reviews, they're necessary. It's part of a healthy ecosystem in publishing, because not every book is going to be for every person. You will probably get, hopefully not, but you probably will get 1 or 2 people who just, it's not their thing.
Right.
That's a better sign to me. When I look at a book, if I see that there's 3,000 reviews and every single one of them is a 5-star, I start to think, something's hinky here, But if you see a smattering of 1 and 2-star reviews, you're like, okay, these are real reviews. It just wasn't their thing, and that's fine. So when I see a 1-star, it's like, okay, whatever. Don't take it personally. There's plenty of books I don't like. I don't tend to review anything 1-star. I just don't. But there's plenty of books I don't like.
100%.
I think it's a sign of a healthy ecosystem in publishing.
You have a story about one of my favorite shows, and I can speak to both sides of why it's a favorite show of mine, about Lost, the ABC smash hit.
When I was working at ABC, I worked at a lot of networks, but the last one I was at was ABC. And at the very last minute, we have this thing in TV, the upfront period, where the new shows are introduced to the advertising community. And a critical component of the upfront period are these trailers that you have to do for these new shows. They have to be absolutely killer. And because this is what the big advertisers, they look at the trailer and they decide whether they're going to spend millions of dollars on these shows. So Lost came in very, very late, and I had to turn it around. I had to do the trailer for Lost. I had to turn it around in like 48, if not fewer than 48 hours. It was crazy. So obviously Lost is about a plane that crashes on an island. And the opening line of the trailer was, it happened in an instant. Flight, blah, 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 fell out of the sky. Now, the problem was with Lost, they never mentioned the flight number in the show, in the pilot. And it wasn't even in the script, I'm looking through just the stage directions of the script. There was no mention of the flight number. So I figured it's not that big a deal. And I put in flight 815. That was just probably the hour of night I was working on it. Didn't think anything of it. The thing went to the upfront meeting, which is a big meeting that happens at Avery Fisher Hall, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm done with Lost. I'm off the show. And the producer who picked up the on-air promos looked at my trailer and assumed that Flight 815 was the official flight number. So they continued that language, Flight 815. And those promos aired to America. So the next thing I know, I'm getting called on the carpet at ABC going where did you get this number for this flight? And I'm I made it up, So apparently the producers of the show were furious because they had wanted to call it Flight 23. And the thing with Lost, with the numbers, everything meant something. So there was some plot point of why they wanted to call it Flight 23. And here I'm Flight 815, blah, blah, blah. And so my feeling was, well, the promos just aired. Just change it to Flight 23. No one's going to remember. And the show was no, we'll stick with it. So Flight 815 became such a kind of a big thing with that show. I would see it on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. What is the future of Flight 815? I always laughed because it was just a mistake on my part and laziness on my part. I should have called the show and said, hey, what number is the flight? But I didn't do my due diligence. And then that's my contribution to an iconic TV show. Kids, don't do your homework. Don't follow through. Don't do your due diligence. And
I'll be the one to say it. Anyone who worked at Lost who has the audacity to say that you didn't do your homework, that you didn't give me a break. I love the show. But everyone knows they made it up as they went along, and they jumped. Too many Fonzie sharks were jumped. See, Henry Winkler always comes back. It was ridiculous. That is so funny because I worked on a show called Deep in the Heart, and it starred Reba McEntire.
I was going to say
to
Reba
WB
McEntire,
Network.
who shares my
Yep.
birthday.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you're both redheads.
And my hair color. Yeah.
She is a lovely woman. Reba McEntire. The show was called Deep in the Heart, HART. I did the upfront. It went in front of all those advertisers, and people kind of balked at the title. They didn't like the title. And I won't say who, but one of the network executives was talking to the press afterward, and they said, "Are you really set on that title, Deep in the Heart?" And this executive said, "Oh, no. We know Reba's the star. At the WB, we just all call it Reba. We're all calling it Reba." And the next thing we knew, it was called Reba. But basically, it was because the press started saying they're renaming the show Reba. And
oh, yeah.
Yep. And that executive's name was used, and he was like called out. It was a big mess at the network. People were furious with him. But to his credit, he's a marketing executive, and he knew the star of the show was Reba McEntire. So just call the fucking show Reba. Like, what?
It's not like her. It's not like her name is Mary, which that would not be. Reba's such it's such a specific name, and you know her. You know what I mean? So it does make sense. That was a good call.
Where can people find Suffer? I know it's a silly question. Tell them where to go get your book.
You can find Suffer on Amazon.com and at Barnes & Noble. I'm in a couple of local stores in the Los Angeles area. I'm at Vroman's in Pasadena, and I'm also at the Barnes & Noble at the Americana in Glendale.
And the final two questions. No, I lied. One more question for you. Where can they find you and follow you, the writer extraordinaire?
You can find me I'm on TikTok at AC Sloan. And on Instagram at acsloanwriter.com. My website is anniesloan.com. And you can find my other projects on my website. I have a fiction podcast called The Carlotta Botox Chronicles, and you can find it all on the website.
The Carlotta Botox Chronicles is delicious and fun, because every now and then I'm like, I know that person, I know that voice, and we work with the same people. I'm going to fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
We close the show with two questions. Can go back to anything we talked about, anything you want to say. Question number one is this: who inspires you?
I'm inspired in general by beginners, and especially by beginners who start late. So there's this Ira Glass quote that I absolutely love, and I encourage people to Google it. Do Ira Glass, beginners. He has this quote. And he basically says, nobody tells us to people who are beginners, I wish someone told me. All of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste. But there's a gap. For the first couple of years you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is still killer. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. So that was the quote from Ira Glass. And his point is that a lot of people never get past that phase. They quit at that point. And his advice is, you're going to get better at the thing you do. Just keep going. It's going to take a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through. So I think the people who inspire me are the beginners who just keep going. Just keep doing your creative. It'll get better, and it's going to be gratifying regardless.
And the final question is not a question. It's how we end every show. Finish this statement. Tell me something good.
Oh, tell me something good. Boy, there's the news is just so terrible. But there's, oh God, I don't know how to answer this, Steve. Shit. Still tell you something good. My animals are good. Animals are great when the world is going bad.
Thank you, Anne, for sharing your good. Go grab copies of her book, Suffer, and my book, Drowntown, on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and support some new good authors. Next time on World Gone Good.
I had two options. I could run away from it and hide, or I could step into it. I have opted to step into it.
Gray James is an artist who just happens to be trans and queer. In 2019, he spearheaded an art exhibit for queer and non-queer high school artists, and it was a big success. But then, he became a target of a handful of people who are, shall we say, not that open-minded to those that are different from themselves. We are living in a time where books are being banned, Black history is being rewritten, we can't say gay in one state, and education itself is under attack. It's gotten dark in some of these places, maybe even a place where you are listening to us right now, but we find the light here on World Gone Good. And sometimes the best way to do that is to stop yelling at school board and city council meetings and listen for the good. And that is what we're going to do for Gray and for each other on our next all-new episode. Until then, be good.